What's going on, y'all? Harry from Harry the Horse Barbecue here, and in this one, I am not horsing around with this pastrami on rye sandwich. We're gonna trim up a beautiful brisket and toss it right into a homemade pastrami brine. Then we'll season that brisket with a homemade pastrami rub, smoke it off on the offset till it builds an amazing dark bark, and then we will assemble one of the most amazing brisket pastrami on rye sandwiches that you will ever sink your teeth into. Looking for a smoky New York staple? Well, the horse has got your back. Let's get it.
Harry the Horse Barbecue.
Now, you absolutely cannot have pastrami without brisket. Actually, wait, that's not true. I did a ton of different pastramis on this channel. Pastrami pork belly, pastrami beef cheeks, pastrami flat iron, and my personal favorite, which is the pastrami beef navel. Make sure you go check that one out. But nonetheless, most of my pastrami brines are exactly the same, and it starts with this pot. If y'all are wondering, the brand of this pot is Caraway. We use these at home all the time and they're great. But we're going down with kosher salt, brown sugar, pink curing salt for that cured flavor and color, whole black peppercorns, whole coriander seed, some whole allspice berries, mustard seeds, clove, red chili flake, interestingly enough, some cardamom pods because I had them on hand, and then all of these beautiful aromatics, cinnamon stick, bay leaves, and some star anise pods. Into the pool. We're gonna top this off with 1 and 2 quarts of water. And then we're gonna throw this onto the heat to dissolve all the salts and sugars, have all those spices, release some oils, and have a super flavorful concentrated pastrami brine at this point. Be back in about 10 minutes. Our brine is boiling away and this is really hot in my hands. So in this container we go. Steamy. I, for some reason, always forget to add the garlic into the brine, so during the boiling process, I added 4 cloves of garlic. The recipe will be in the description down below. We're gonna top this off with another couple of quarts of water and a second quart, and that should be about a gallon of water total. But I always like to come through with a little bit of ice or a lot of bit of ice. I don't know what's up with this. So this is gonna add a little bit more liquid to the mix, but it's not gonna dilute the salt too much, so I'm not too worried about it. So this big chunk in, along with a little bit more. We'll set this to the side to cool, and while that brine cools, we gotta go shopping for a brisket. So let's go. This be a brisket from Costco. It's choice grade, and it's been in the freezer for about 30 minutes, or at least that entire time we were making that brine. So enough horsing around, let's get this beast out of the pack. Oh God. And all we gotta do for this pastrami is give this brisket a pretty classic Texas style trim, starting with taking out this decal. Some of this under fat you can mess with or not. I don't care. Give her a flip. Oh God. Oh Lord. Time for the mohawk. Not looking too bad. Gonna square up this end just a wee bit. Gonna take off this treated edge right here. Not looking terrible in that flat. We've got some striations of fat, but man, this is primarily why I'm not really cooking up choice grade too often. That is a lot of seam fat. Just keep inspecting and flipping, and now pretty much at this point, just gonna start taking down this fat little by little. Oh, scalp it like a bum. My bad. If y'all can see right here, there's a little bit of a seam of fat right here that's running essentially all the way down this point muscle, which means we might have to sacrifice some of this. So hopefully y'all can see I sacrificed some of that nose end. We'll kind of leave it at that because I want some fat protecting it on this end over here. All right, and to give this brisket some shape, I'm just going to round off this corner here. Keep following that natural shape of the brisket. Round off that corner. And this brisket has warmed up quickly because it's like 95 degrees today. And after a long detailed trim, this beast is looking really nice. Good amount of fat on there. That mohawk looking really nice and aerodynamic. Got that nice rounded nose end, underside. Still got some of this fat on there, but I have stopped caring. I think she's ready for the brine. Now this nicely trimmed big old boy is heading straight into this brine gently. fat side probably down. So this brisket is not fully submerged, so I have to go in with more water because this brisket is so massive and we can't have any portion of this brisket sticking out. Funny story, I did that one time. I was trying to make pastrami brisket burnt ends. That video never released because I left portions of the point muscle of the brisket exposed and it actually grew like these little hairs. It was just not a good time. So we want to submerge this completely. So now I'm just gonna go through and make as many injections as I can to make sure that this brisket is receiving the full brine treatment. So in a grid-like pattern, I'm gonna sort of go through and pump this up as much as I can and make this brisket take on as much of this brine as I can get it to take. All right, our brisket's been trimmed, injected, and now it's sitting in this brine, and I'm weighing it down with a plate just so nothing sticks out above the level of the water of the brine. So we're just gonna cap her. And I'm gonna come back every day or so and maybe flip over this pastrami just so we can even out which side is completely submerged. And I'm only giving this about 5 days or so. So I'll see you guys in a couple of days. Ooh. So it's been roughly 6 days on this pastrami brine. Every day I came through and I flipped over the pastrami just to get equal brine penetration on both sides. So before we check on this pastrami, we gotta make a fairly classic pastrami rub. So it starts with 1 part of 16 mesh black pepper, 1 part ground coriander that I ground myself, 1/2 part of granulated garlic, and just to be a little bit different, about 1/4 part of ground mustard, because you know that pastrami on rye with mustard vibe. Learned my lesson from last time, so we're gonna cap it. How is that all coming out of the container? I don't know. Oh, the lid is cracked. Let's go grab that pastrami. Ugh. Well, not the best camera angle, but I just pulled this straight out of the brine, and it's got a bunch of this stuff on it, all these allspice berries, these star anise pods, the clove. Ugh. This just needs a bit of a pat down to remove all that extra surface moisture. Flip. Ugh. And the top side, get any of these extra berries that won't come off when you run water on them. But overall, this brisket's looking pretty good. It's definitely heavier. The color has changed quite a bit. Still a little wet, still a little tacky, which is perfect because we can just apply our rub straight on, no binder. No salt in this rub because there's plenty of salt in that pastrami brine. And I want to go on heavy because I really want that crust to build up on the outside of this pastrami. Looking for that super dark Texas style bark and those classic New York delicatessen pastrami flavors. 1 clean flip around. Ugh. And then over the top. Was that the perfect amount of pastrami rub that we made? I actually think I'm just gonna do a quick pass of just 16 mesh black pepper over the top just to ensure this thing barks up the way we want it to. That looks pretty darn good. This pastrami's been beautifully brined and it's got that amazing color change going on for it. We hit it with that classic pastrami rub with the pepper, the coriander, garlic, mustard, looking really good all the way around. All that's left to do is get this on the cooker. So let's go fire up the cooker. Got a little bit of a different fire up the cooker sequence today because of this rain. Just got a flat bed of coals from my last cook. Some snake nests help you in a time like this. 2, keep these suckers dry. And then just some moderately wet logs. Door open and we'll see where that gets us. Whatever. Actually, the cooker is still on its way up in temps, reading only a little over 100 degrees, but we can still get this pastrami on to give it a little extra smoke flavor while this cooker's heating up. So I'm gonna get it on up and under. Okay, and here we go with this massive behemoth middle back, oh my gosh, of the cooker. Yeah, I would say something about like that looks pretty darn good. She looks purty. All right, y'all, this pastrami brisket is sitting in the middle back of the cooker with the point facing towards the firebox. The point section of a brisket inherently has more fat and can take the brunt of the heat, at least early on in this cook, which allows the flat to slowly come up in temperature so we don't get any curling or overcooking of the flat. I've got the damper to the smokestack sitting at about 2/3 of the way closed, and our fire is gonna be ideally rocking at about 250 degrees. We're gonna let this pastrami smoke away for a very long time because this beast is waterlogged, so I'll bring you back when something's going on here, but until then, I gotta close this down and get out of the rain. Boom, pastrami shakalaka. All right, y'all, we're a little over 7 hours in on this pastrami cook, and it's been a really simple cook up to this point. So in my estimation, we're only about halfway through this cook, and that frightens me. But let's check out this pastrami and see how she's doing. We've been rocking mostly between 250 and 275 for the last 2 hours or so, but I got temps rocking a little hotter than usual. But we know this pastrami has to sweat out a ton of water, so I'm okay with that. Oh, Up and under. Jeez Louise, that brisket's looking nice. Don't love the fat separation here, but usually that happens around the 7, 8, 9, 10 hour mark, somewhere around those lines. Nothing getting too dark or crispy on these ends of the flat. Bark is setting up really nice. The point end is doing what point ends do, taking the brunt of that heat, so that's great. Not much fat render. That's literally like rubber. So that means we got a ways to go. But at this point in the cook, there's really not much to do. I gotta tone down the temps just a little bit, and all we really have to do is continue to render fat and sweat out the rest of that moisture. But it's not harmful if you come through with a little spritz or two now and again. So you can come through with a little apple cider vinegar or whatever kind of spritz you want. And I'm just gonna cool off those edges, but I'm not gonna horse around too much here because one, I'm losing a lot of heat, and two, this brisket has a ton of moisture inside and it needs to sweat it out. But I'm gonna come through with some foil band-aids, AKA foil tips. Just kind of lift that brisket up, curl it underneath, right underneath, curl around that flat just a little bit, and just give that pastrami a little extra protection. And we gotta close it down. But I'll bring you back when we bring this brisket inside to wrap it up, but we're not gonna wrap until we have those aforementioned signs. The fat render, the moisture loss, and the shrinking of the brisket. It's gonna be a late night for the horse. Let's move on to the next phase of this pastrami. 11 hours later, and here's our beefy brisket. A good amount of shrinkage. This surface is starting to look dry. That bark has set up really nicely. This point is feeling really nice, but the flat definitely still tough as nails. We're probably in the range of, 185-ish in the point and around, 170, 175-ish in the flat. But this pastrami needs the foil boat in order to continue to render this top fat. Not too bad. It's actually smelling really good. Now this pastrami is gonna go back onto the cooker at about 275 degrees, wrapped up in this foil boat until it hits its tenderness, but we really need this flat to soften up. So we're going flat towards the fire. I told y'all it's gonna be a long day. So that pastrami took about 14 hours to finish up cooking, and I held it in my toaster oven overnight at about 150 degrees. The next morning, I essentially took it out of the toaster oven, let it cool completely, vac sealed it up and threw it in the freezer. I pulled out the pastrami brisket about 2 days before my buddy arrived, let it thaw completely, and then popped it in the oven at about 150 degrees Fahrenheit to let it completely warm through. And then we were ready to slice up some pastrami for some killer pastrami on rye sandwiches. Let me kick it over to Past Harry to where he sliced up this pastrami and got a little bit of feedback. Here we go. I can't look. Ah, nice.
I'm creaming inside right now.
So we're just gonna get some lean slices. Hey, yo.
Oh, wow,
Oh, it just,
A little bit.
that looks crazy good. But this is a choice grade brisket, which is crazy because, it looks a little dry down in here. Overall, that's not too bad. Fat render is not the best there, but
Oh yeah, it's terrible.
they're supposed to be one biters.
I wanted to savor it.
that is so good.
It's so fatty, but in like the best way.
Yeah. That,
It's probably a little too hot. It's like super grainy, which is a bummer. It's gonna make for good sandwiches, but that's definitely way too grainy. Fat render looks really good though, where it's like caramel colored along the top. These lean slices look really, really good. Little bit of fat left over, caramel colored all the way around. So basically the next step is to build sandwiches. So as y'all saw, the cook on that pastrami was a little bit all over the place. The flat was looking fairly good. It was a little tight. The point was feeling pretty good, but it was a little over. Now this is part of the reason why I don't like to cook up Costco choice at home. They're a bit inconsistent. But if your pastrami is a little over or a little under, it's gonna make for some great sandwiches no matter what. But when I think about a classic delicatessen here in New York, you gotta have some pretty solid garlic dill pickles to go along with it. So we gotta start that. And we start with one pot. Going in with about 1.5 cups of water, 1.5 cups of white vinegar, 2 tablespoons of kosher salt, and 4 tablespoons of white sugar. Onto the heat, and then we'll prep our cucumbers and our aromatics. Beautiful looking pickle chips, except for this one. Into our jar, a whole bunch of dill that I guess I'll separate just a wee bit. 4 cloves of garlic, some mustard seeds. Whoa, my fault. Actually, that's a pretty good amount. Some celery seed, just a little bit for that extra kick, and just a wee bit of red chili flake just for a little spice. Now all of these cukes are going in. Nice. And now everyone's favorite part, pouring boiling hot brine into this jar. Here we go. Uh-oh, spillage, but if we can fill this all the way to the brink, capper, and there we have some pretty easy homemade garlic dill pickles. let it hang out upside down for a bit. Then all we gotta do is start building this pastrami on rye. I'm gonna start off with some beautifully and locally made rye bread. You could check out all those caraway seeds in there. Right onto this beautiful rye bread, we're going with some, stone ground mustard. Both sides, y'all. Give that a little schmear. Now coming in with a beautiful fatty slice and then some lean just to stack it up right on top of that fatty. And lastly, we're topping this off with some beautiful organic sauerkraut. Yeah, I didn't make the bread, I didn't make the mustard, I didn't make the kraut. Now all we gotta do is carefully top this with our beautifully mustard slathered rye bread. Look at that beauty. And tell me, oh man, that you don't want to just take a big old bite of that pastrami on rye. Goodness gracious. I gotta take a bite. Man, I'm happy to be back to my New York roots with this one. I know this is not gonna be horsing around with the brisket here, but again, just take a look at this. That is a sight to behold. Enough gawking at it. This just makes you want to keel over instantly. Oh my God, that is good. And I just can't stop. In true New York delicatessen fashion, let's pair this pastrami with a homemade garlic dill pickle. These pickles have a little bit of spice, ton of savoriness, a hint of sweetness. That garlic and dill flavor is really forward. You gotta pair these with your pastrami. And I just gotta take one of these, pop it right on the sandwich. When you first bite into the sandwich, you get all of that fattiness from that brisket. It's got the perfect salt levels. All of those aromatics and floral notes from that pastrami brine are coming in beautifully. But all in all, when these components come together, they make for a killer sandwich. So I don't know what to tell y'all except for stop horsing around and make this already. It's that freaking good. Thank y'all for tuning in to Harry the Horse Barbecue. I really appreciate you checking out this video. Make sure you subscribe for the vibes, hit that like for pastrami on rye, and leave a comment down below with your thoughts on this sandwich. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I'm posting new content, and you can follow me on Instagram at Harry the Horse Barbecue. Tag me so I can see what y'all are cooking because y'all inspire these cooks. And with that being said, there's only one more thing, y'all. This one is going straight to the horse's mouth. We'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace. I'm one biting this and taking the other half to go.